CL 650 presents your source for leading-edge news and information on today's hottest products and services. This is Experts on Call.
Welcome to the program. It's nice to have you with us. On our agenda today is our resident appliance repair and appliance installation expert on everything you should know when it comes to appliances in your home. We're talking the master of appliance knowledge and appliance repair, a man with literally 50 years experience in the business. Always a pleasure to welcome Jack McIver to the airwaves of CL 650. Nice to see you again.
Thank you, Sterling. I'm glad to be here.
So you've had, we haven't talked for probably a few months now. It was during the summertime we last got together here. How was your summer? Did you have any time off, Jack, or were you nose to the grindstone all the way through?
No, Leslie and our dog and I went on a boat trip, and our boat's in the Fraser River, so we left there and we went off to Pender Harbor and had a couple of days there, and we went to Powell River, a day there, and over to Comox, a couple of days there. It's a great place, that Comox.
It is,
It's got
yeah.
a great waterfront. And then down to Denman Island to see my cousin, who's in the artistic business, and visited there and had dinner. And then back down to Nanaimo, a couple of days in Nanaimo, and Maple Bay. So that's like a U-turn. You know, you go up one side of the
True, yeah.
the Salish Sea and back down the other side.
That's right, yeah.
And we like marinas because the fact of having restaurant facilities.
Sure.
And pubs and things like that, so Leslie doesn't have to do an awful lot of cooking.
Well, that's good.
So we like that kind of a situation.
Well, it sounds pretty nice, pretty stress-free.
Definitely. So we're after we really like Nanaimo because there's a Mexican restaurant right on the dock. It sits in its own barge.
Oh.
And they have great margaritas there.
Ah.
And
I'm now taking notes.
Hey, there's a free plug for that restaurant.
Okay.
And then we hung out there for a couple of days, and headed down to Salt Spring. And we were there for a couple of days there, and then we ended up leaving there and going across the Salish Sea to Bowen Island, and went to the marina there and had a day there, and then went up to Big Muddy, the Fraser, to our boathouse and put the boat away.
That's a lovely break, isn't it? Huh?
Yes, and then this on the Thanksgiving, we went to Wigwam for barbecued turkey, deep fried.
Oh boy.
It's a big event at the club.
And you go up by boat?
Yes, everybody goes up by boat.
And has deep-fried barbecue turkey?
Well, there's more people than can sleep on boats go usually because they have a hotel. It's like a hotel.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's an old hotel.
That's right.
The
Wigwam Inn.
The club owns. It has some seamy past, but now it's very moral.
So you're talking about having a nice bit of break in the summertime. Is there, in the appliance business, Jack, is there a busy season and a kind of a slow season, or is it pretty steady year-round?
Well, for us, with the probably one of the largest pool of customers in the business, because we have all satisfied customers.
Mm-hmm.
People don't just buy. We don't sell to builders or sell any products that aren't really durable. So our customer base keeps expanding or keeps refilling the people,
right,
because they'll be coming back after some of them, as I say, 30, 40 years even they've been customers. And children
I was just going to say,
relatives.
now you've got multi-generations within that customer
So our
base.
business is kind of leveled by that.
Right.
And because we just don't sell appliances, we have a shop. No one else has shops anymore. They're all mobile, little guys in trucks with uniforms on that never get their hands dirty because they don't do any overhauling of anything. So but our customers get new compressors in their fridges and transmissions in their washing machines if they want them, and have their people bring stoves in to have them upgraded with new elements and wiring and stuff so they can keep using them.
Right, right, I see.
Because they don't see a lot of the new products that they want.
They would rather have a 30-year-old product updated than go down the street and buy something brand new off the showroom floor that wouldn't last 1/10 the time the upgraded old thing would.
Yeah, it's a fear factor, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so with these customers, we're kept busy, so that's another income source.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do some rentals to commercials and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right. You do movie rentals. That's right. Yeah.
Rentals.
Taking care of Hollywood.
That's more income source. And then there's a parts department. That's really a well-stocked parts department because we stock what we sell. And we sell a lot of parts every year.
And is that all out of the same premises down on Marine Drive?
Well, we're selling truck parts out of the trucks too. They're stocked with
right.
parts.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about, though, with the fact that it has become such a steady year-round business as opposed to having slow and busy sessions. Again, that comes with 50 years in the business, Jack, and that customer base that you're talking about. I mean, this is literally building a customer base one individual at a time over 50 years.
Yes.
At the end of all of that, you have this enormous, happy customer base.
And all I have to do is keep using the same business plan. Although we're encouraged to use the American business plan, like our competitors use, which is no onus on the delivery, no service, no parts, go there, don't bother us about that.
And your
only bother us if you're going to buy something.
Right. And your business plan is exactly the opposite. Aside from the fact that you have the commonality would be that you have things for sale. It's about how you go about selling and particularly servicing.
The thing is, the reason that it's like that for our competitors is there's not good enough people around to run a business like I have. You have to be an expert. You can't just hire somebody and say, go do this. You can hire somebody to sell because all they have to do is, but they don't have to know that much. But the people who work in our business, they really have to know what they're doing. And I'll tell you, the public these days, they just love it. They say, oh, what a great place to do business.
Right, right. Jack brought along, literally, friends, a dossier full of testimonials, lots of letters and cards and all sorts of expressions of gratitude and satisfaction. And we'll get into some of those in a little bit. But I wanted to go, you talked about your business model and sticking to that business plan, the same one that you've had for 50 years. So what's the essence of the business plan? Is it all about the customer comes first?
Well, it's about... when I first started, there wasn't any trouble with anything, really, because if all the appliances that you purchased to sell in Canada were absolutely fabulous. There wasn't any junk.
This is 50 years ago.
Well, even up till 1990.
Okay.
Yeah, till the free trade agreement. All right. So there we are. The competition was basically on service, satisfaction, and delivery and installation, and knowledge. And I outflanked everybody else.
And that,
on that.
And on that alone.
And they don't care. And that's fine. But I care because I thought to myself, I don't want to be like them and have that phone ringing and people hating me. I mean, you keep selling junk, I mean, you're gonna get a hate factor there.
But you also, right from the beginning, devised or came to understand how important the follow-through was. It's not enough to sell somebody a brand new piece of equipment, be it a car, an appliance, or whatever. It's about the follow-through, the after-sale, the relationship that goes forward that makes the big difference, doesn't it?
Well, here's how that works. If we were selling products, and we started to receive, or parts, and we're starting to receive stuff that's failing. So what I would do with that is I would send it back. And if more came, then I'd never buy it again, whether it was appliances or whatever happened to come into. I've never really sold anything just to make money. I have this idea in my head that I like to treat people the way I like to be treated.
Well, you know, that's not an alien concept for most human beings either, Jack.
No.
It just doesn't seem to apply very well in the retail end of life, does it?
No.
So here's a guy who's an anomaly in 2014 because you still have that original 50-year-old business model. Let's go back to route sheets, because part of organizing a business and part of building that customer base and getting to know people and getting people to know that they can rely on you whenever they need you, you devised something called a route sheet way back in the day. What's that all about?
Well, what the route sheet is, it's an appointment list for your service calls and your deliveries.
Okay.
And it uses the invoice number that the customer has for that particular service call, delivery, or pickup, or whatever it happens to be.
Right.
We use the route sheet for everything we do, so there's a record of it. And between 4 and 5 in the evening, people are called and told what time we're going to come.
The next day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And if we don't get a hold of them all, we give them a call between 7 and 8 in the morning, and then the service trucks go out, and delivery truck would go out, and they would. Now, I designed this when I had 5 service trucks and 2 big delivery trucks to keep, and I designed it for computer, and it's used right across North America. And another company copied it. I didn't mind, because something like this, why bother?
Sure. Okay.
People say to me, well, why didn't you patent that vent hood you designed? And I said, well, because anybody can make it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know, but
I don't make my money on patents.
The idea of the route sheet, though, is 50 years old. But I've got a bunch of these route sheets here in front of me on the desk, and they're dated August and October. I mean, so this is still very much at play every day at McIvers.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the nice thing about it. They're kept for about 6 months. So if you want to go back and just take a look for something that you forgot about, or would like to look at again, or whatever, they're all there. Everything's there. They're just sitting in the file.
Well, I'm curious. Now, tell us some stories here, Jack, because I've got stacks of paper on here, and all of these, there's addresses, and each address comes with some kind of explanation as to why the resident at that address needs the service call. I've got one here that says, new compressor, Jack told the customer, need to send a spare fridge. Fill us in on this one. It's at the bottom of that page that I'm looking at. What's that story behind that?
Okay, his name is Bruce Abbott. And he's a scaler of logs.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's how he makes his living.
Okay.
So he lives out in Hampton Court in UBC, and all of the people who live there have all the same appliances. They're Gen Air side by sides and stuff like that.
Is this in a strata development then? Okay.
And
right.
he had a Frigidaire stacker that we rebuilt for him about 7 or 8 years ago. And we've done work on his dishwasher and worked on his stove, and he has everything, but the fridge was getting pretty crapped out. It was not doing so well. So he asked me. He says, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "Well, around $800. We'll replace the compressor, replace all the fan motors, replace the defrost system. We take it into the shop. We'll bring you a loaner, and give us a call when you want to do that."
Okay.
So that's what activated. He phoned up, and so then we went out, brought the loaner in, and we put a good quality horsepower compressor in a side by side, because all the new ones are downsized, and I always either the same or upsize.
Okay.
Because I like to have them work well.
Well, the newer ones are built to minimum standards, right?
Now. Yeah.
Am I being kind again?
You are being kind. Yeah.
I can tell by that expression.
So in the same building, there's another lady, and she's an owner of a Hibsch washing machine, and the same Gen Air side by side. I was over looking at her dishwasher one day, and this is a different time, and she says, "You know, I hate this fridge because it opens the wrong way for me to open it. I have to walk around it all the time."
Right.
Do you have a fridge in stock with a big one with a bottom freezer? And I said, well, there's a 22 cubic foot one in the warehouse that probably cost close to $2,000 when it was new. It's an Amana. And I said, it's very well made. I said, it needs a new compressor and, you know, a rebuild, and then we'll sell it to you for $9.95. So she says, okay, I always go south for the winter, so I'll call you when I come back to deliver it. Never even went to look at it.
Interesting. Just took your word for it. That was good enough.
because she's got a Hibbs washing machine that is absolutely ultra fantastic, right?
Right.
And I can tell you the same thing happens when people buy Ariston dishwashers. Those two products, you're locked in.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the way they operate and how well they do the job.
And it's interesting because you were talking about that first fellow whose house you went out to work. He had a side-by-side, and they weren't Hibbs. They were a different brand.
Yeah,
and so you
Jenner.
talked about how many times you've already had to go out and work on those appliances in this guy's Strata, because that's what it came with.
Yeah.
And gosh, they're not lasting all that well, are they?
Oh, they're 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
This one here, those are excellent appliances.
Mm-hmm.
They're worth that side by side was well worth rebuilding rather than throwing it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case in today's newer items, is it?
No. Once past 1990, not so good.
Right. I needed to ask you just before we take the break, when the woman who asked you about the fridge and who was having the issue with the door mounted on the wrong side of the unit, was the fridge that you eventually sold her, did it open from the side that she needed it to?
Yes, because we changed it.
Oh, okay. And is that doable with every
but
fridge?
when she saw that fridge, she says, "This is beautiful."
Mm-hmm.
Because it was. This is an Amana, made in the Amana factory in Amana, Iowa, not in China,
Mm-hmm.
not in Mexico,
Right.
and not in the Whirlpool factory.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll take a quick break here. We're talking appliances with Jack McIver of McIver's Appliances at 610 Southeast Marine Drive and online at McIvers.biz. That's B-I-Z. I'm Sterling Fox. This is Experts on Call, and we're back in just a couple of minutes right here.
This is Experts on Call on CIL 650.